one of my first things I do in class is I always talk about heart lines. And I say, what are those lines that resonate with you? You are struck in some way. And it can be different for everyone, which is why I love poetry, because we could read the same poem and you and I could have very different heart lines. So what I love is discussing those. Like, why did that line resonate with you? Why did that line resonate with me? We go to literature to feel less alone in the world. We all have our genres that do that. And so I think poetry are those ways that like they make me feel less alone in the world. And so those are the poets that make me feel like I have a sense of belonging in the pain. You know, those are the poets that make me understand myself.
Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today I am thrilled to welcome to the podcast Tiana Clark. Tiana is a poet and essayist whose work delves into race, faith, and personal history. She is the author of the brand new poetry collection, Scorched Earth. And today she and I talk about writing poems that are extremely personal, the ways that the lyric eye manifests itself on the page, and the kinds of poems that really speak to Tiana. In case you missed the announcement, our book club pick for April is Blessing the Boats, New and Selected Poems, 1988 through 2000 by Lucille Clifton. Tiana will be back on Wednesday, April 30th to discuss this book with me, so be sure to read along and then tune in. Quick reminder, everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. If you love this podcast and you want inside access to it, there are two incredible ways to support the work that I do here. One is by joining the Stacks Pack at patreon.com/thestacks. And the other is to subscribe to my newsletter, tracythomas.substack.com. Both of these places give you extremely cool perks and they help me make this podcast possible. Okay, now it is time for my conversation for National Poetry Month with the one and only Tiana Clark. All right, everybody, it's Poetry Month. You know, we had to bring a poet out. And I got to tell you, this poetry collection, it's called Scorched Earth. And our guest, her name is Tiana Clark, but I'm going to give you a preamble before I introduce. This book just showed up on my doorstep. An editor at Washington Square Press, which is where the book was published, just sent it to me with a really nice note. It said, Tracy, I really like what you do. I think you'd like this book. Not 2 weeks later, I get a message from friend of the show, Jose Olivares, who's like, do you know what you're going to do for Poetry Month yet? I said, I don't know. He said, have you thought about Tiana Clark? I said, I'm not sure who that is. And he said, the book is called Scorched Earth. And I said, oh my God, that just showed up to my house with a note. So I was like, well, that is a sign because Jose is my poetry guy. So I am bringing to the show. And then I found out that this guest is also a friend of Saeed Jones, another one of our poetry faves. And so I'm thrilled to welcome to the podcast, Tiana Clark. Welcome to the Stacks.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm such a big fan of you, this podcast, of Saeed, of Jose. That's so sweet. I love how just like all these kismet connections colliding together.
Yes, all the poets know, and you will know now too, for future poets you want to recommend to the show. I know very little about poetry. So a recommendation from a poet that I like is basically like an automatic booking. So if you ever want to pressure me to put your friends on the show, you just have to say, I like this person. But of course, they were right. The collection is fantastic. I loved it so much, though, you know, I only know so little about poetry, but it spoke to me. And that's what I've been told by all the poets is the only thing that matters. Yes. If I like it, it's great. And if I don't like it, it's the worst poetry collection ever. So this is a great one.
Thank you.
Will you just tell folks a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, maybe how you got into poetry?
Yeah. So I was born in Los Angeles in 1984.
Shout out.
I think that was the year of the Los Angeles Summer Olympics. And
it was. Are you a summer baby?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't know why I just said that. I was a February baby. I want to be a summer baby because it's always so cold on my birthday. But I moved to Los Angeles in 1991. My mom actually worked for a Christian record company.
Wait, you moved to?
I moved to Nashville. And I remember my mom being like, do you want to move to Nashville? And I was like, where is Nashville? And it was so wild. And I think this also shapes my experience as a writer because, as you know, being in Los Angeles, it's such a diverse community. Everyone in my kindergarten classroom was from all over the world. And then I moved from there to Nashville, Tennessee in 1991, where I was like one in four like Black students. And it was the first time in my life that I got asked, what are you? And I was so confused because no one had ever asked me that question.
What did you say?
what's funny is I went home and I go, Mom, what am I? I was like, people are asking me. And she was like, just say you're beautiful. And so I would go back to school and say, I'm beautiful. And they'd be like, you're a freak.
Oh my God.
It's actually the first time I got.
I have a similar story.
Oh, really?
When I was at a pool in Lake Tahoe, and these older girls were like, "What's your heritage?" And I was like, "Oh, I just got it done last week," because I thought they were asking me about my hair.
Oh my God, that's so good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I feel like they should take all the mixed people in the world, and we should it should be a poem of like all the questions and answers.
Like, especially when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Because like as an adult, I have answers now that are sort of like, mind your own fucking business. But as a kid, I legitimately thought these girls were telling me that my hair was beautiful. I was like, thank you.
I like your interpretation. I like that. Yeah. And then I lived in Nashville for most of my life. And then I had a fellowship year at UW-Madison, Wisconsin. And then I lived in Southern Illinois for my first teaching job. And now I'm in Boston, and I'm a writer in residence at Smith College. So she's been all over.
And how did you come to poetry?
I had an incredible poetry teacher in high school. His name was Mr. Bill Brown. He actually just passed away last year, so it's tender for me.
Oh, but I saw what you wrote to him in the acknowledgements.
Yeah,
very sweet.
Yeah, he utterly changed my life. I was a little bit of a rebellious teenager, a little bit Daria-esque, lots of emotions, and he was just the first teacher that took the time, space, and permission to invest in me, to believe in me, to tell me that I was good at something. And I think when you're that young and someone tells you you're good at something, that feels really powerful. Also, as you know, you have all these hormones surging through your body. And it was so amazing to concretize those emotions into language. And I was good at English, but all my English teachers would be like, Tiana, why can't you just do the 5-paragraph essay? And I'm like, I hate this form. I wanted to create my own form. And so when Bill Brown was reading Sharon Olds and Lee Young Lee to me and read it up, I was like, whoa, what is this powerful magic? And he was showing me like how my brain worked. Because I went to a magnet school, and all of these kids were like, they knew they wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. I didn't know what I wanted to be, but when he introduced poetry to me, I was like, oh wait, this is how my brain works. Because until you have that moment, you feel like something's wrong with you because you haven't figured out how you see and interpret the world.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Do you feel like that has shaped how you are as a teacher or when you work with students?
Absolutely. I actually found out later because we stayed friends my whole entire life until he recently passed away. But he had dyslexia, and it was actually a teacher that he had in graduate school that pulled him aside and spent extra time with him. And so he made sure to be more patient and take that extra time with his students. And it's changed my pedagogy in that I think there's an instinct sometimes as an early teacher to get kind of frustrated when students aren't paying attention or aren't listening to you or disruptive. But because of him, I have that pause now of like not frustration, but of like curiosity. Okay, let me ask some questions. Let me get to know that student a little bit more. Let me have some grace here. And that softness and that tenderness has yielded such beautiful results versus that kind of instinct to want to like, punish or like be harsh with students, which is especially after the pandemic, like students need so much grace now more than ever.
This is very comforting to me as a person who is going to have to talk publicly with you about poetry. I'm hoping that you'll be very patient with me.
Of course.
when I have thoughts and questions, because everyone who listens to the show knows that this is my most scary episode. These are my most scary episodes every year because I'm like, so I feel like panic about discussing poetry, even though everyone who ever comes on is like, there's no right answer. I am the 5-paragraph essay person.
Oh, really?
That's how my brain
like
works. My brain, oh, baby, yes, I love a structure. I'm like, oh, there's a rule. We can follow it. I can recreate this every single time, which is why I think poetry is like scary for me, but also like kind of like sexy, but like scary, like dangerous, maybe is a good way to put it. But this isn't about me. This is about you. So this collection kind of is about your divorce, but also about a lot of other parts of your life. There's a lot of like your relationship with God and sort of like the rules of religion and how maybe as you move forward, it sort of changes, about future love or love that's come in since the divorce. It's very personal, I think is fair to say. What is it like to write publicly about such personal things? And how do you protect yourself from that as you're out on a book tour, as you're out in the world, as you're talking to your students who I imagine at least know you've written this book?
Yeah, such a great question. I think when I was younger, I think I had this false idea that if I bloodlet my life, like in an open mic night, that was connection. And it actually took me a long time to actually protect myself. And it's something that I teach my students. I always tell them, we always say it's the speaker and not the person to have a little bit of protection in the classroom, even though we all know, wink, wink, we're writing about ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think I have, as I've gotten older, I'm learning how to care for myself for the exact reasons that you're saying, because even though I do reveal a lot that's very close to experiences in my life, I think one thing that poetry has taught me is that the lyric I is a collage of real and imagined experiences. And it creates a little bit of that psychic distance, although people just assume that it's 100% based off my life. And a majority of it is. But I think I have more confidence in myself now to not feel like I have to answer every question that's asked of me. I think when I was younger, I felt I was such a people pleaser. So I was an overshare naturally. So I would just like reveal so much. And then I would look back and, you know, I think Brene Brown calls it that vulnerability hangover the next day and be like, why did I just say all of that? Like, I didn't need to give all that extra information. And one of the most powerful experiences I had, the poet Carl Phillips came to Vanderbilt during my graduate school experience, and someone asked him this really long, convoluted question. You know those people that do those like common answer questions?
Yes.
It wasn't even like
my enemies.
Yeah. And Carl Phillips did this amazing thing where he just looked at the student and was like, sure, yeah, next question. And I was like, what? We're allowed to do that? Like, that's on the table?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to like cater or pander to people. And I think one thing for me that I tell people, like, my poems are braver than I am. My poems are, you know, and so like sometimes when I read, I want to step into that boldness. But during the Q&A, there's a poem in the book called After the Reading where I kind of have all those collected experiences of all the wild things people have said to me. And it's mostly it's to do with race, which makes me feel uncomfortable, or asking me really personal questions. And now I've learned to pivot or to be like, oh, that's so sweet of you, but like, I don't feel comfortable asking that. Or, you know, I've had students ask me to read certain poems, and especially the more sensitive poems. I just don't read those in public because I'm trying to protect that energy for myself.
Okay, I have like 3 different follow-ups to this.
Yeah.
One is, do you ever read after the reading at readings?
Yes, I love actually reading it because it's so great.
I feel like that's a good one.
Yeah, it creates this fun dynamic where when I read it now, I'm like, are you going to be added to the list? Don't be one of these people.
Do you want to be in part 2?
What's funny now is people are like kind of hesitant now because they're like, oh, but I actually love it. I'm like, you should have this all the time.
You should pause. Yeah. You should pause before you fucking open your mouth. Okay, question number 2 is about in your acknowledgments, because I love an acknowledgement. In your acknowledgement, you thank your therapist and you say that your therapist reminds you that you are more important than your work. And I feel like that's maybe kind of in conversation with what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what that struggle for you has been like? Because I think it's common for a lot of creative people.
Yeah. Well, one, I didn't like it when she said that to me. So I was like, sure. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, therapists always be saying too much. Like, okay, we get it. You have a therapy degree or whatever. You did so many hours. Yeah. Okay. The truth is it's a little direct.
Yeah. This is my old therapist, Brenda. Shout out to Brenda. She really helped me in a time of crisis during my first book tour where I was so overwhelmed and so burnt out, and I didn't know how to negotiate boundaries or how to separate my identity from the production of the marketplace and creativity. It was all mixed up and all complicated, and she helped me through that. And I think that was a constant reminder, because I think I did over-identify with my work, and she was always wanting to separate that identity. And that was really hard to make that distinction. I think the pandemic was a time for all of us where it was kind of this like global pause in a time of trauma, but where all of us were like, wait a second, if we're all stopping, the marketplace is slowed down, then who are we actually if we're not publishing or, you know, putting out another podcast? Or this whole thing of capitalizing on momentum is actually something I'm trying to work against, even though I understand why we all have that, right? Like, that's what capitalism teaches us, or the attention economy teaches us. That's what Instagram is making us feel constantly, that we're not good enough, that we have to put out there. Oh, look at that person doing that. Look at that. Oh, they just put out another book. What? When do they do that? It makes you feel like you're not good enough. And I think my therapist was always trying to remind me that who I am at my core is not about what I produce or put out in the world, that I have to like that person and I have to take care of that person. And she's always asking me like, Tiana, how can you lower the bar? How can you lower the bar? For example, I got
oh my gosh.
Yeah, wonderful scholarship to travel the world for a year. It's called the Amy Lowell Traveling Poetry Scholarship. And the only rule is I couldn't return back to North America for 1 year. It's like, great. But when I started actually in Berlin and I got a horrible case of COVID, and I had all these ambitions to like write all these things and publish all these things and do all these things, but I was down bad for 6 weeks. And we had a session and she was like, what if you, instead of writing, you just convalesced? What if you just rested? What if you actually just did nothing? And I was like, Brenda, I don't know what you're talking about. Because I didn't know who I, like, because I think I over-identified with that gerbil on the hamster wheel energy.
Right.
You know,
right.
I've been Team Hermione from day one. You know what I mean? And when she was
I don't know what that means.
Hermione? Like that kind of like raising your hand energy, like always having the answers, like, you know?
See, I never did those books.
Okay, I didn't read them, but just like from the movies of just like that kind of.
I didn't see the movies.
Oh,
I've
really?
never engaged with any of that.
Oh,
I
wow,
never
okay.
did. And then, you know, the author's a horrible transphobic woman. And so then I was like, well, I don't have to.
Oh, there you go. Well, it worked. Honestly,
But so I
then
don't
you saved
know
yourself,
anything
though.
about them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm assuming type A, nerd,
Mm-hmm.
overachiever. So yeah, I relate.
Okay. But so that time
I just
of
don't know
rest,
the reference.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
time of rest and recuperation. And now I'm working actually on a memoir about Black burnout, and I actually wrote an essay about Black burnout, and really, really digging deep into what does it actually mean to rest, and what does it actually mean to take care of yourself, especially, you know, for Black people, is something that I'm exploring.
Yeah. I bet your therapist doesn't like that you're making it into work, though. Huh?
I know, right? I'm like, wait, how can I take these tidbits? Actually,
I'm like, wait a second. This sounds like a great idea, but also Brenda's not going to like this, or formerly Brenda.
Yeah, she actually told me, she was like, Tiana, you always take notes during our sessions. I was like, yeah, this is great for my book. She's like, can you stop?
You take notes during your therapy session?
Yeah, you don't?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now I'm doing therapy wrong. Thank you, Tiana.
No. But she was making me stop because she was like, stop turning this into your work. And also she was like, Tiana, not everything is theory. You know, she's like, we're in a conversation. So I think it was a bad habit that I was doing that.
Okay, yeah, bad job,
though.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my third question, and this is about poetry, so it's a real hard shift. When you first started answering my question before, you said something about the lyric I.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Oh yeah, that's great. Like, so I think the I, like when people think about poetry, I think people again think it's totally autobiographical. So when I say the lyric I guess I'm saying that the I that's in my poems is more of a poetic I. It's a lyrical I.
I was thinking EYE.
Oh,
like looking at it lyrically. You're saying the lyric letter I.
But you know what? I love
myself.
I love both. I kind of love thinking about a lyrical I. Kind of like in that way. I think that's beautiful.
I see.
Yeah,
so
the
you're
I
saying
first person.
The I first person is a version of you that is also a version of fantasy, that is also a version of a past you. Like it is not, it's not Tiana. It's like fictional, but real. It's like autofiction Tiana.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way to put it. One of my favorite poets, Toy Derricott, she has this great excerpt from one of her poems, Speculations of the I. And the line goes, I am not the I in my poems. I is the net I pull me in with. And I just love that idea of I as in like this net that gathers all the versions of me,
right? All the
real or imagined, and like that's what I get. That is my perspective and my POV, and that is the place that I write from. And that has really helped me kind of understand it a little bit more.
I love that. I want to know what makes someone one of your favorite poets. What in a poem do you love? Because like I said, I'm learning a lot about poetry. I was just actually talking with Nate Marshall and Jose, who are my poetry professors. They do private text message poetry therapy with me. And I was asking them, I was like, what makes a poem good? Because I was saying, I read a lot of nonfiction. I can tell you if a nonfiction book is quality without having liked the thing. I can be like, I did not enjoy this, but I recognize what the author is trying to do, what they did, why it works. But with the poem, I was like, I literally can't do that. I can only tell you if it resonated with me or not. I can maybe tell you, if it rhymed. I can maybe tell you if it's in verse, but none of those things to me equal like a successful air quotes poem. And then Nate, after like 20 voice memos, was finally like, well, I think maybe you just like a narrative poem. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that there were different kinds of poems like that. So I'm wondering for you, if you can articulate what kinds of poems you're drawn to, what your quote unquote taste in poetry is.
Oh, what a great question. One of my first things I do in class is I always talk about heart lines. And I got this idea from Kim Adonisio and Dorian Lux, where they talk about every poem as a heart line. And it's exactly what you're talking about. And I say, what are those lines that resonate with you? You are struck in some way. And then I connect that to this theory from Roland Barthes about the punctum in photography, where he talks about there's always something in a photograph when you're looking at it. What is that? The punctum comes from that pierces you. He said, where it bruises you. And it can be different for everyone, which is why I love poetry, because we could read the same poem and you and I could have very different heart lines. So what I love is discussing those. Like, why did that line resonate with you? Why did that line resonate with me? And so I think the poems that I love are bursting with heart lines, are things that have like connect with me in a deep way, have explained a situation, a conflict, something that I've been struggling with, and they gave it language. Then that feels really, really powerful. Of like, wait, they were able to explain this like amorphous thing that I haven't been able to name, and they just gave it back to me, and it feels like a gift. And so I think those are the poems and poets that I love. Like, a poet that I love is Terrence Hayes. One of my favorite poems is Lighthead's Guide to the Galaxy. And so there's a line in there where he says, I'd rather have what my daddy calls scrimp. He says discreet and means the street just out of sight. Not what you see, but what you perceive. That's poetry. Not the noise, but its rhythms. I'll eat you to live. That's poetry. And that last line, poetry for me, it means like poetry as a means of survival. Because that's what it means like to me. Like, I don't know if poetry can save anyone, but it has absolutely saved my life. And so like, I just love this thing also where Terrence is like saying, I want to have what my daddy's language. I want to have that dialect of scrimp. Like, I'm not going to take, this like traditional Western canon. And he's kind of repositioning of what poetry means for him. And so I think for me, like, we go to literature to feel less alone in the world. We all have our genres that do that. And so I think poetry are those ways that like they make me feel less alone in the world. And so those are the poets that make me feel like I have a sense of belonging in the pain. Those are the poets that make me understand myself. Those are the poems and poets that I'm drawn to. I mean, I can get into specifics, but that's just one with Terrence Hayes. Yeah.
Do you memorize all these poems? Are you like a memorizer?
I'm actually not. I think it's just because I'm a teacher, a professor, just year after year, it just like, it's almost like catechisms or something. I don't know. It just kind of comes out of me. I don't actually, so cool. I've ever like committed it to memory. I remember when I was in grad school, one of my professors, Mark Darman, would do that all the time. And I was like, how does he do that? And then it weirdly started happening to me like year 7 or 8 of teaching. And I was like, oh God, the transformation is complete.
like, I'm really a poetry professor now. Like,
it's
official.
all coming
you have
out.
to wear the robe and like the hat like, at graduation every day to class. I love it.
I also think another key factor, poets like Ross Gay, Ada Limon, these poets that they're insanely brilliant, insanely smart. But kind of what you're saying, I think a lot of people have hangups about poetry because they feel it's opaque or it's trying to be mysterious and they feel like it's not for them. Those are not necessarily the poems that I am drawn to. Like, I want to connect with you. I want you to understand where I'm coming from. It's so interesting with my students because they love to be opaque. They love to be mysterious. And I'm like, guys, but then I ask them, what does this line mean? And they give me a whole novel. And I'm like, where's that in the poem, y'all? Like,
do they opaque poets, your students? Like, if you ask them who's my favorite poet or who's your favorite poet, are they giving you opaque kinds of people or are they giving you colloquial, conversational poets?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. It's kind of a mixture of both, but I would say it definitely leans more to poets that are, this is a complicated term, like accessible. Like, it's so funny. They're drawn to poets where they do feel a deep connection because there was something particular about that poet that is speaking to them. And that thing that is connected is something that's translated very easily in the work. So that's why I think it's so funny. But also, I think there's just something with younger generation I've noticed. I'm like, why do you want to be so mysterious? I heard Viby Francis say this, another poet that I adore. What does it mean to risk clarity? I always tell my students, risk clarity. Why are you so afraid to be clear? Why are you so afraid to just say, I would call it say the damn thing. I'm like, just say the damn thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's like what's really nice about your collection is like, there was no point in your collection where I was like, I don't know what she's talking about. Right. Like, I can't say whether something is good or not in poetry. Like, I just don't think I've read enough poems to even have like a depth of knowledge to really know anything. But what I can say is like, I certainly got it. Like, I certainly, for the most part, I mean, there's definitely things that I didn't get. Like, there's layers I know that you're working with that I was like, no clue what that means. But overall, it's you can read the poem and be like, this is what Tiana is talking about. And I feel like, I know that accessible is sort of like a interesting word for poets because it maybe feels like pejorative because there is this sense that poets should be opaque, like that poetry should be hard or like,
Yeah.
and that's so funny to me because I feel like everywhere else accessible is like the highest compliment. It's like,
Oh, that's so
this is
interesting.
readable, or like this is accessible. You can come to this event. More people are welcome. There will be a ramp for you in your chair. There will be, someone doing sign language. Like it means more people get to be part of the thing. And the idea that that is bad in poetry, or not bad, but just like maybe looked down on, I think that's maybe fair for some people, or that it's an insult is like definitely worth thinking about.
Yeah, honestly, I totally agree with you. It does have a pejorative meaning, and I wish there would be a more expansive way to talk about it. Another poet that I love, June Jordan, she has this poem like, my poems are hands like reaching for you in the dark. And I love that. It's like I want to be held. I want my poems to feel like
I want to be held by poems. Yeah. I want to tingle.
Yeah. I love that you said that you got it. Like I want people to get it. Because it's so funny because when I talk to my students, they tell me all these things that their intentions from the poem, and I will tell them I got none of that, and I would love to know that. And I was like, how can you put that? And I think the work is, how can you layer and do those things in a way that is like striking and interesting? But I totally agree with you. I think I want all the community in my work. I want to do the work. Obviously, I want the poem to be a piece of art. But like my goal is absolute connection with my reader. I want my reader to feel like I'm with them, they're with me. I tell my students it's almost like museum curation. You get to decide the distance. Right. Is this a piece of art you want them to touch? Do you want a 10-foot pole? Like you get to decide the psychic distance in each of your work. And I would say, I love that you said that because when people talk about voice in literature, I think it's so funny when people talk about voice. For me, it's how can you display who you are, your guts on the page. And so when you said like you felt like you were with me, it's like just as much as we got dinner, you would get that same energy. Like I am a gesticulator. I'm gonna tell you about my life. You will know very quickly. And I talk about all the things that you shouldn't talk about at dinner. We're gonna talk about God, sex, money. Like we're gonna talk about all of it because that's just who I am. So it's naturally gonna spill over into my work. And what I try to get to do with my students is do not think about your audience and what you think they want or need. Like how can you be authentic to who you are and how can you spill it on the page? I always tell them think about dancing. I was like, those moments when you're dancing, okay, people are watching me and you're kind of restricted, but those moments when you're actually free and it's kind of awkward and you maybe look kind of silly, but I was like, people are drawn to someone who's being authentic. And think about your friends when you fall in love with them or a lover, it's those idiosyncratic moments when you're like, that person just did something weird, but I love it. Like my best friend, Sienna, I did something weird in front of her one time and she goes, I'm obsessed with you. And I felt so loved and seeing that she saw something in me and it drew her to me, not away from me.
Yes.
And that's what you want from your readers, I would assume.
Yeah. Okay. But so I have to ask you about audience because audience is my personal obsession.
Okay.
How do you think about audience and when do you think about audience? Because at some point you have to, because you're writing these poems to be read. You're is it when you're writing them? Is it when you're putting the collection together? At what point does someone else enter the picture for you as a writer?
What's in this first initial drafts, I ain't thinking about anybody because if I did, we wouldn't get anything done. It's messy. It's wild. At some point in my revision process, I do start reading my work out loud where I start to hear the stickiness and I'm just trying to get the language down. Probably when I'm thinking about submissions, I am thinking about, it's probably when I'm submitting the poem, I'm thinking about, okay, do I want this out in the world? What does this mean to have this out in the world? I think the truth is I really don't think about it along the way, which is why probably if I did, I would probably pause. Because for example, I have a poem here, I masturbate and pray to God. My mom hasn't gotten the book yet, but she has asked me about that poem and I just pretend I didn't hear her. And I'm like, I will just never talk about that poem with her. But you would think that I'd have a pause on that. I may not read that during a reading. I think that's when I think about audience, but I just feel accountable to the feeling and I want to capture that feeling. And it's more important for me to be married to the authenticity of nailing that feeling down than it is about my relationship to how that will be perceived in the world. And I think that is maybe what's honest. I think I almost have a naive block because if I thought about it too much, I probably wouldn't publish anything. I probably should think about it, but I don't.
Well, we don't do shit around here.
Yeah.
I just so curious. I mean, everyone's so different, but I'm obsessed with audience. I think about audience a lot, and I think about, and I do think, even if you maybe don't know it, I think you are thinking about audience, because like the lyric some of your poems are like sort of hostile to your reader, or some poems are like more welcoming. So like you're definitely thinking about what you're doing to the reader, or like to the person you're talking to. I mean, at least I sensed that in the book. I don't know. I should tell you what you're doing.
That's fair, because I am interested in breaking the fourth wall, because I do like that moment in Fleabag, when she's looking at the audience. I do like playing with that manipulation of, like I love peeking out.
I don't know Fleabag.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think. Or like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Sure. I know breaking the fourth wall.
Okay.
I was a theater major. I know everything about breaking the fourth wall.
So you know that, yeah.
So
but
I get it.
That idea of like breaking that convention, like, of the play world. And like, I always ask my students, I'd love to know, since you grew up in theater, what do you think that effect does to the audience?
I think it's one of the strongest things. If you do it well, I think it's unreal. I mean, think of Iago and Othello. Bye.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like when he turns to the audience and he's like, did you see that? Did you see what I just did? You're literally like, this man, like, because again, a person obsessed with audience, I think when art can effectively acknowledge that you are there, the audience is there, it is unsettling and also sort of an invitation at the same time. And I think that's really cool. And I think, I have done live shows for this podcast a lot. And if you've ever seen them, one of my favorite things to do is when someone's talking is to look out at the audience and be like, get a load of this guy, right? Or like, isn't that hilarious? Like, do you hear what they're saying? Because I do feel like when we consume art, it's sort of nice to be reminded of the thing that we're doing together, whether we're actually doing it together or whether we're doing it separately. When Iago acknowledges the audience, whether you're reading it on the page or you're watching it in the theater, everyone who is consuming Othello is having a moment of, oh, this guy's talking to me now, or whatever. And I think that's really cool. I think sometimes it can be overdone. I think sometimes it's not done well. But when it's done well, I almost always like it. Yeah. I almost always like it.
That is so fun. I love that you said it's unsettling, but it's also an invitation. I see that dualness because I think it turns you from a passive spectator to an active one. You are now a part of the play. You're now
part of it.
You now have to be confronted with what's happening. You are now just not. You're not a dreamer. You're not sleeping. And I think I love that. I love to play with that. And I think you're right. If you overdo it, you can tip it too much. But I think there is a poem in here. You're right, where I do say like father, daughter, reader, lover. I don't have to tell you everything. And to be honest with you, I think that is an extension from after the reading of it's more of me. Of having to be accountable to some of the things that people have asked me to, where I was being a little sassy and being like, you know what, you're right. I think there was a moment where I was like, you know what, I don't have to do this. So I do think there are moments, especially in that breaking in the fourth wall, where audience absolutely comes in for sure. Yeah. But I think there's a way. It was a kind of like contentious thing for me in that moment, in that particular poem.
We love contention. Yeah. I want to ask you one more thing about the collection, and then we have to move on to books and other people's books. But one of the things that I felt that you were doing in the book, but I don't have the words to articulate it, so you're going to have to help me out here, is I feel like you seem deeply interested in writing conventions, styles, forms. I mean, you have a poem about epigraphs. You reference like the ghazal a few times. You are like referencing literary style, form, technique a lot throughout the collection. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So going back to Bill Brown, he grew up in like that beatnik, Frank O'Hara, those kind of poets where it's very free verse style, very, very flowing, which is similar to my style. And when I went to graduate school, that's when I started being introduced to all these forms like the sonnet and the sestina. And to be honest with you, I was afraid. I had a lot of trepidation and a lot of imposter syndrome in graduate school until I asked my professor about imposter syndrome. And he's like, oh, you're going to have it for the rest of your life. And then I was like, oh, great. Okay, fine. Great. But I was like, Tiana, why are you afraid of these forms? And I honestly felt in graduate school that if I wrote it like a traditional sonnet and iambic pentameter and I couldn't do it, then that didn't mean I was like a real poet. But then when I started working with the forms and addressing my fears, I was like, wait a second, I see you form. I see what you're doing. And then when I started making and breaking forms, that felt really exciting to me, where I had to have them make sense to me. Going back to the 5-paragraph essay, I was against the form. But then when I got inside the form, dismantled it, figured out its guts, and made my own recipe, that felt exciting. Now I look at form in an expansive way of like, how can I break it and remake it and make it my own? And so I think with this book, I was really interested in breaking all the poetry rules that I know. So you're seeing a lot of this play, a lot of this like dexterity, because I'm trying to figure out how to make form work for me and in my own language. And so like playing around with it was something that I wanted to bring back to myself, not only as a sense of joy, but honestly to go back to like a childlike sense of why the heck did I get involved with poetry to begin with, you know?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back. Valentine's Day is upon us and I've got love on the brain. Love for books, duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. We are back. I did not prep you for this, but we do a segment here called Ask the Stacks, where someone has written in asking for a book recommendation. I'm going to read to you what they said, and you're going to come up with at least one, up to 3 recommendations.
Okay.
And people at home, I am really low on Ask the Stacks submissions. So if you email askthestacks@thestackspodcast.com with what you're looking for, maybe some books you like or don't like, and we will read them on the air. So do that. This one comes from Derek. And Derek said, I recently read Charlie Hustle, which is the book about Pete Rose. And it is easily one of my favorite reads of the year. I'm looking for another nonfiction read that is going to be as gripping as that one, with a similar deep dive into an aspect of someone's life rather than a full-blown biography. Would love it to be sports related and or scandal related, but doesn't have to be. Just something that takes over my life for a week. I can go first if you want, or if you have one, you can go right away.
I just have a quick question. Who is Pete Rose?
Pete Rose is the baseball player who got kicked out of baseball for cheating. He bet on baseball. Sorry, for betting, not cheating. He was like famous in the 70s. He was really famous. Then in the 80s, he got kicked out of baseball. He's like blacklisted. He's sort of like the great sports villain. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The book is great if you haven't read it.
Okay.
I can give some recommendations if you want to think. But basically he's asking for like a really gripping story about like some sort of person or event that is sort of scandalous is kind of what I took out of this.
Okay.
My first one, Derek, is a true classic. It is at least a true nonfiction classic. It is All the President's Men by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward. It is about the Nixon Watergate scandal. It's from the journalists who uncovered it. It's got Deep Throat. It's got Scandal. It's got the Washington Post. It's just, it's so good and it holds up even though you know what happens. So that's one. Another one, the other two I have are brand new. One is Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. This is the Facebook expose book that came out earlier this month. She was pretty high up at Facebook and was a sort of diplomat inside the company. And she spills the tea on Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, this guy named Joel. And I mean, it's juicy. Like, you'll be obsessed with it for a week. I don't know if I wouldn't say it's a great book. I have a lot of notes for Sarah, talk about form and function. But if you want to be sucked in to a crazy story and just like scandal and incompetent humans, that would be one. And then my third pick is a book called A Better Ending by a guy named James Whitfield Thompson. In the 1970s, he goes by Jim, Jim's sister, died by suicide. And when it comes out, that's what they decide. And the sister was married to a police officer who was in the house when the gun goes off.
Oh, God.
So after years, the author, Jim, decides to go back and sort of investigate this death because he always felt like something wasn't quite right about what happened. And so this isn't really like a biography. It isn't really a scandal, but it is such a gripping book. And it almost shouldn't be because, like, I don't know. I was really taken by it. I think he handles the subject really well. So it's kind of memoir, but also sort of investigative journalism. I did it on audiobook. I started it on my morning walk and went on an extra walk that day so that I had time to finish the entire book in the day.
Aww,
so like it won't take over your life for a week. It'll take over your life for like 24 really good hours. But so those would be my recommendations. Tiana, what do you have for Derek?
Well, a memoir that really gripped me, I don't know if this will be Derek's cup of tea, but I love Carmen Maria Machado's In the Dream House. And it delves into the like verbal kind of abuse in a queer relationship, but it's also, the form is really interesting because it is constantly flipping, because it's like Dream House as a Southern Gothic, Dream House as a choose your own adventure, Dream House as a Star Trek Generation episode. It's constantly like, it's like flipping forms, but it's investigating kind of the end, like the beginning, middle, and end of this relationship, all through this like lens of a dream house. And it's a wild book. I've never read anything like that. Like the Choose Your Own Adventure chapter is so fun to read. And so actually the experience of reading it feels really exciting and really explosive. And it was one of those, like, I just like had to read it, like you were saying, in the whole day, because I just wanted to know what happened. And also the experience of reading it was also kind of it was my medic to what was happening at the same time. So that was a really engrossing read for me that I would suggest to Derek. I'm trying to like loop my mind around to other ones, but that's what's on the top of my head right now.
That's great. That's a great recommendation. Derek, if you read any of our books, let us know. And everyone else, email askthestacks@thestackspodcast.com to get your recommendations read on air. Okay, Tiana. Now you're really in the hot seat. 2 books you love, 1 book you hate.
I love Sula by Toni. Yes. I'll do both Toni Morrison, Sula and The Bluest Eye. I think that first chapter of The Bluest Eye I think about constantly. And also the end of The Bluest Eye I think about, with Bacola kind of having that breakdown in her psyche. And then I think in Sula, the relationship between the women in the family just reminded me so much of my relationship with my mom. And my favorite chapter is 1923, where Hannah's like, Mama, did you ever love us? And she's like, love you. You're alive, aren't you? And I was like, ooh. It's like, you know, and my favorite quote from it is like, thin love ain't love at all. One book I hate. You know what? I gotta be honest. Oh, I hope I don't get hate for this. Please, guys, no hate mail for me. I have tried to pick up and read Moby Dick so many times, and I just can't do it. And someone even like told me like revisit it when you're abroad, like something will click in. And I tried, and I just couldn't. Do you like Moby Dick?
No, I've never read it. Sounds awful.
Okay,
no one here will hate you for any hate. The only way you get hate on this show is if you don't like snacks, or if you don't pick a book that you hate. If you're like, I don't hate any books, that's when people are like, bullshit. But if you hate a book,
snacks.
Okay, good. We'll
also,
get there.
I tried to read Infinite Jest too. I couldn't.
I would never. Why? Why would anyone?
I do like some of his short stories, but like I could not I think I just got like 20 pages in and I was just like, I can't do it, guys. I can't. This will be a
Imagine
doorstop.
being good at writing short stories and then being like, now I'm going to write Infinite Jest, like, which is the opposite of a short story. It's like 1,000+ pages being like, okay, well, I nailed the 10,000 word story. Now here's the 5 billion word story. What kind of reader are you? How would you describe who you are as a reader?
I would say I'm kind of a magpie and that I kind of flitter and flit about. Like, I think because I'm a professor, I'm always having to, I'm reading students' work, I'm preparing for class, I'm rereading books for my class, I'm knee deep in research. So I'm all for constant projects. So I'm just like constantly bit bopping around, knee deep in the JSTOR, and then I'll go get a book, and then I'll be like knee deep in that book. But then I'm constantly pivoting and turning, kind of like Minority Report, but with books. So it is rare that I would like sit down and read a whole book unless it like utterly just kind of it consumes me. So I'm very much like a nibbler. Like, it's a charcuterie board of books. I'm just constantly,
If you were going to go on vacation, no work allowed, what kind of book would you turn to?
So recently, or last August, I went on vacation and I took Miranda July's All Fours because I just wanted something. I was hearing it was sexy, it was fun.
Yeah.
But she's also just kind of like an intense, weird writer. So I wanted something weird and sexy, and it definitely hit those notes. So,
and what's the last really great book you read?
Ooh, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies.
Oh, great book. I'm actually going to have lunch with Disha tomorrow. Because it's AWP as we're recording this.
That's
AWP
right.
this week. So.
I love the short story collection so much, and especially the short story Dear Sister, because I've never met my father. So number one, I broke down crying, but also the way that Disha wrote this book, I had never read anything like it where I felt so seen, or it felt like it captured especially Black life, where it wasn't just about pain and suffering. Not that it ignored that, but there was also like joy and sex and like queerness and ways that I just hadn't seen myself reflected or seen like the holistic Black life, reflected. And I just was obsessed with it. And I just like, this was a book I couldn't put down. And I was just, and Disha's also incredible and so brilliant and also so like amazing. And I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like one of the great joys for me of reading that book is I read it pretty close after it came out because Kiese Layman told me to read it. Oh. And I had no expectations going in, nor did I know anything about Disha. And I loved the book so much. And then Disha lived up to how much, like as a person, she lived up to how much I loved the book. So I love the book even more because, sometimes you'll love a thing and then like you'll meet the person and you'll be like, oh, well, you're a genius, but like don't want to talk anymore. Or you'll read something and be like, the book wasn't great. And then you'll meet the person and they'll be great. For me, it was like Disha matched the book and has continued to match the book. So I do love that book.
What are some Heavy was like an incredible collection for me too. And also listening to it on, I read it and then listened to it to hear him read it.
I did the same thing. I read it and I listened to it. What are some books you're looking forward to reading?
I'm definitely looking forward to Ocean Vuong's new novel, The Emperor of Gladness. I love Ocean Vuong. I love his poetry, and I really liked On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I love when poets step out in other genres, and they're still their poety self, lyrical self, and remaking form self. So I'm definitely looking forward to that book. What are some other books coming down the pipeline? I think Gabrielle Cavacresi, another poet that I adore, has a book.
Oh, she comes up in your book. You have poems for her.
Yeah. I love Gabrielle Cavacresi so much. A life-giving poet for me, for sure.
Ooh, I love that. Life-giving poet.
A life-giving poet. Yeah.
I love that. We call books here that are like favorite books, or like not even favorite, like but like important books to your life. We call those books of my life. Like that's what I call it, a book of my life. So I like life-giving because that's, in conversation.
Yeah. One of my best friends and a writer that I adore, Jennifer Hope Choi, has a book coming out called The Wanderer's Curse.
Okay.
And it's her first memoir. I'm really looking forward to that one. And what else is coming on the pipeline? What are you looking forward to? I mean, like, what is coming? I'm like, are there any ones that are coming up? And I'm like,
well, I mean, there's so many books that I am always looking forward to. I have like a spreadsheet full of them because, as you might know, I love a form, love a rule. Got a whole spreadsheet.
Are you a Virgo?
No, but I have weird. I'm a Leo. But I don't know. I am. It's
giving Virgo energy, though.
I know. I do feel like I have Virgo somewhere. What am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward, as we're recording this, to the Andrea Long Chu collection, Authority. I'm looking forward to Angela Flournoy's forthcoming book, The Wilderness. I'm looking forward to, there's this book called The Last Supper. This is such a me book by this guy, Paul Ellie or something. And it's about the 1980s pop culture and religion. So it's like talking about the song Hallelujah, Beloved, the AIDS crisis. It's like real, nonfiction shit, like really my cup of tea. But I'm curious to see if he can pull it off. I don't know him, but he's, I guess, a pretty well-known writer that people know. I don't know. He's like a white guy I've never heard of, but it really sucked me in. I don't know. So those are some things.
I just saw today on Instagram, Claudia Rankine has a book coming out late 2026.
Ooh, okay. I'm looking forward to that.
I was like, screenshot. And I was like, because I will read anything Claudia Rankine does. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I mean, I'm also, you know who has a book coming that I'm really excited about, but I don't know when, is Clint Smith is doing.
I love Clint, yes.
Love Clint. And he's doing a sort of How the Word is Passed, but for World War II.
Ooh. Oh, yes, I saw that.
I can't fucking wait. I mean, like.
Same.
The moment it comes out, it's immediately getting injected to my veins. So
there's some writers that it's just like immediate pre-order. Like I don't know, like whatever Clint
like whatever Clint wrote, I was gonna read. But also, I personally have an obsession like with World War II stuff. So the combination of like Clint Smith and my favorite war, the war to end all wars for me, I don't know, is like too good to be. I'm sweating. Talk about your body tingling. I'm like tingling over the prospect.
World War II gets you tingly. I love it.
Yeah.
And then Jose Jalaveras, I think, is working on a novel. I don't know if that's allowed to be said or not.
No, I mean, I think he mentioned it when he was on the show. Maybe. Okay. I think he's posted that he's working on something and it's a novel. And whenever that comes, I mean, there's so many things like that where I'm like, I'm looking forward to your next collection. Like, I don't know when it's coming, but I'll be ready. I mean, that's the thing about working in books. I'm always looking forward to everyone's next thing. Okay, back to you. This isn't about me. This is about you. What's a book you love to recommend to people?
I love to recommend Raske's Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. I feel like it's like, this is, like if I could carry like 10 copies in my purse and just give that to everyone. I think, going back to that word accessible, but I say it with all the abundance of like love of like this book will fill you with joy. This book will fill you with like sadness. But this book will give you a hug. That book has so many poems for me that are so beloved and I've dog-eared and starred. And are you a get in the book? Okay.
I can be, but not always. But you know what, Tiana? You're going to hate this.
What?
We did Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude on this podcast for book club with Clint Smith. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get into it. None of it stuck with me. No, there were moments it was a few years ago and we talked about it and like, but it hasn't stuck with me. It was actually one of the poetry collections I was talking to Nate about when I was like, how can I know if something is good? Because I know that people love this collection, but it just, I couldn't do it. So I think part of it is long poems are very hard for me.
Gotcha.
And you write about long poems. But for some reason, your long poems, they're not as long as Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. Some of those are like 20 pages. I don't know. I struggled with that a lot. And I really thought I was going to be like, yeah. And I read Book of Delights and I liked Book of Delights quite a bit. But that is not, it's very different. But don't hate me. But that's just what you're up against.
I don't hate you.
That's what you're up against when we get to the Lucille Clifton.
Now I'm like, okay, well, what else can I get for Tracy Vetchel? I'm like, no. But no,
do you know who I love? Do you know what poet I love? Ellen Bass.
Oh, I love Ellen Bass. Yeah. Beautiful poet.
Oh, so good. I love it.
Yeah. What do you like about her? Or what is it that you connect with in her work?
I don't know. That poem, The Thing Is, you know it. It's really famous. It's like, the thing is to love life and to like, well, anyways, I don't know. I just really like, first of all, I feel like I get them. And second of all, I feel like I like her. I don't know. There's something about her that feels extremely likable in the poems. She's sort of like no bullshit, maybe a little bit energy.
Yeah. Which makes me think, I wonder, have you ever seen Raske live?
No, people always say that.
I think it's
but I've never.
I think it's a different. You're like, no, you're okay, you're done. But like,
No.
it's a different
People
experience.
have told me that. I just never have. I'm trying to pull up the thing is. Yes, the thing is the poem. It's like to love life, to love it, even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've ever held dear crumbles. And at the end is what I love. Then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes, and you say, "Yes, I will take you. I will love you again." Come on. It's short, it's sweet, it does what it needs to do. How can a body withstand this? I don't know, Ellen. How?
Yeah.
I just love it. I think that's like my favorite poem ever.
Yeah. What I like about Ellen Bass is something similar that Ada Limon has, where you step into the poem and you think like, oh, okay, this is cute, this is nice. And then all of a sudden, like, you're just like, something happens when you're just like, where you're
it's
just
the
like,
same thing that I love about Tressie McMillan Cottom. Her writing. Yeah. She does the turn, the switch, it's that trick. It's the trick of writing. It's a trick of a good writer. It's like when the reader thinks they're doing one thing and you're really doing another thing. And I think I love that too. I do. There are other poems I have loved and liked and thought of, but the thing is really, I'm trying to think and there's an E.E. Cummings poem that I love. And those are the two poems that I think that like in the way that you can recite everything, those are the two poems that I sometimes think about. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. E. Cummings was a big poet for me when I was younger, just like playing with punctuation or playing with form.
Was he like an awful person or a racist or anything bad? Do I need to know anything about him? Like, because I really like that one poem.
I know. I mean, not off the top of my head, but like honestly, when it gets back to the older poets, there's always a letter or something that's weird where you're like, oh, there it is. Like there's the N-word or there's some anti-Semitism, but I don't.
He's not like a notably problematic person. Okay.
Not to my knowledge. Not to my I hope.
Anybody listening, if he's terrible, can you just DM me kindly? Because I have a lot of strong feelings about one single poem and I'm too scared to look. But
is it that I carry you in my heart, that poem?
No, it's My Father Moved in Waves of Gray and Hymns of Them. Yeah. Oh, God, I love that poem. Anyways, again, not about me. You keep wait,
another quick poet. Another quick poet. I know I can't help it. I think it's like the teacher in me. But Ada Limon's Bright Dead Things or The Hurting Kind would be another one that I would give to people. Because I think the way that she ends poems and the way that I think her poems touch people and the concepts that she talks about, it's so personal, but it's like so personal, but it zooms out to the world. And in a way that I find super delightful. And the first time I heard Ada Limon read, I just wept and wept in my seat. And because I felt so touched and I felt so emotional from the way her poems touched me. Yeah. And she calls fireflies field bling. How could you not fall in love with her?
What does that mean?
Like they look like field bling to her, fireflies.
What's field bling?
Field bling.
Oh.
Like fireflies are like you know, they're
filled
like
of like bling.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, do you have a favorite bookstore?
Ooh, Books Are Magic, probably in Brooklyn. And then there's also, I just was at a bookstore for the first time for my book tour that I fell in love with, Possible Futures in New Haven, Connecticut. I've never had this experience before. I walked in and I felt such vibrant joy. And it almost is set up like a living room. Like it's like it invites you to sit down and read. And the owner, Lauren, is just full of so much joy and beautiful energy. And they have a beautiful mural on the outside of an abolitionist. And there's so much color and it's divided by all these like different sections and like new ways that I've never seen like sections before. And there's plants. It just feels like you're inside someone's really cool house and they've invited you into their living room. And it just had this like energy of it was just vibrancy and joy that I was like, if I lived here, I would be here all the time. So Possible Futures in New Haven, Connecticut.
That's good. What's the last book that made you cry?
So it's a poetry collection called Short Films Starring My Beloved's Red Bronco by Kay Ivor. And they are a non-binary poet. And this collection is almost like an elegiac collection that is about the loss of the speaker's lover, Missy. And I think the way that they talk about grief in this collection was in a way that I've never seen before, of just making grief a character or carrying your grief with you or reckoning with grief in a way that I just have never seen kind of manifested in a collection. And I think also the way that Kay Ivor talks about gender and kind of tenderly exploding those concepts in ways that I've just never seen before on the page. And I felt really held. And this one was an emotional one for me for sure.
What's a book that you feel proud to have read?
I want to shout out Saeed because I just looked around and it's How We Fight for Our Lives. Like I think, especially because I was raised by a single mother, and so I think the way that Saeed talks about his mother in this collection, and the grief that he carries, and the way that he writes about her, was just so similar to the way that I see my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I felt he helped me, I think, see my mom and a new way, and want to hold her and cherish her in a new way after reading that collection. So I think that when I think of pride of how it made me re-see my mom in a new way. And so I'll say that one.
I love that answer. Okay. What's a book you're embarrassed to have never read?
Embarrassed to have never read. I've never read War and Peace.
Oh yeah, me neither.
I feel like that's one people like talk about. I've never read Middlemarch.
Me neither.
There's a lot of things I haven't read. I remember when I got to grad school, someone asked me like, "Where are the gaps in your reading?" And I said, "Where aren't the gaps?"
Yeah.
In my reading, like
that's how I feel.
I haven't read a lot of a lot of the classics.
Same.
Especially in fiction. That my knowledge there is pretty thin.
Same. Okay. We have to talk about snacks a little bit. What's your ideal reading setup? Snacks and beverages. Where are you? What's the vibe?
I love this question. I am a person who has many drinks. Okay. So in the morning, I definitely have to have my coffee. I definitely have to have a soda water.
Okay.
It's usually a plain soda water.
Is this in a can? Do you like get it in a bottle? Do you have a soda making machine? It's
a can.
Okay.
And then I definitely have to have a tea. I love a throat coat tea, ginger, peppermint.
Okay.
So usually 3 drinks are going, and then I always have my water as well.
A flat water, just to still.
And I put apple cider vinegar in my water. I'm a weirdo, but I actually do not like the taste of water, and so I always need a little bit of something.
Okay.
And I think I read about ACV a long time ago, and I've just gotten hooked to it. So, apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
I love snacks so much. I have to be careful. I don't have a ton of snacks like while I'm writing, but I definitely have snack breaks. Okay. So lately, I've been into the lesser evil Spaceballs. Have you seen these?
No, but I love the lesser evil popcorn. I just wrote about this in my Substack. I love that.
Which one though? Which one of the
pink,
popcorn?
The Himalayan sea salt pink. Just clean,
I'm
tidy.
the Himalayan gold.
You like the yellow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've never tried that. I tried the pink. I loved it. Never strayed. I've never tried any of their other things.
I'm just saying, just one day, go gold. And you'll never go back. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. I'm open to it.
It's a little more buttery. It has more of that buttery.
More butter.
More butter. That's what I'm saying. More butter is the
wait.
gold.
Okay. I can't wait.
Costco sells a very big bag for $6.
My Costco does not sell. My Costco sells Boom Chicka or whatever the fuck. And I think Boom Chicka is so subpar that I didn't think that I even liked bag popcorn, because I was like, bag popcorn tastes like Boom Chicka and Boom Chicka tastes like blah.
Dang it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you see it somewhere, go for the gold. It'll change your life. For sure. I'm trying to think of other snacks. Okay. I love any kind of honey mustard pretzel situation.
Okay.
I love a seaweed snack.
Okay. Yes.
I love a good apple slice and a peanut butter.
Okay, you're losing me.
I'm losing you?
You're getting further and further away from delicious and closer to nature. Okay, I need you to peanut butter. Okay, apple slice, not your best answer.
Okay. Yeah, I love. Oh my god, I love snacks. I could talk about snacks all day. What are some of your favorite snacks?
Well, my signature snack that I feel like I can't believe I have not gotten Pepperidge Farm to sponsor me on this is a goldfish mixed with Swedish fish. We call it a pescatarian. And it's cute. The greatest salty sweet combo. You don't put both the things in your mouth at the same time. Sometimes people hear me say this and then they start putting both. And I'm like, no, you eat a few goldfish, then you put a few Swedish fish, then you eat a few more goldfish. It's a perfect balance. You can also do it with raisins if you're in a pinch, but it's not as good with raisins. I like a pretzel thin dipped in whipped cream cheese. That's delicious. Oh. I like I have 5-year-old twins. And I have recently gotten back into saltine peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh, cute. I forgot about those.
Don't sleep on those. Wow, they're incredible.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm, okay, I love a good PB&J. Okay, you just sparked my memory. Have you ever had the that popcorn? I think it's like something Creators where it's the caramel and the
cheddar.
Cheese
perfect.
Together.
Yeah. It's perfect. I love that.
It's salty sweet. I love that.
Yeah. And I also like the pretzels stuffed with peanut butter from like Trader Joe's or whatever. Also iconic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the combo for me. And I love candy, like a nerd cluster. Oh my God. It's just so sweet.
Okay, there's this Swedish brand. I don't know the name because it's like in or Swedish, but it's actually I like the Swedish fish with all the like the sour ones.
Yeah,
That real
I've had
sour,
those. Yeah, delicious.
Oh.
A friend actually brought those back for me from brought something back for me from actual Sweden, where I was like, okay, I am seen. Okay, we're so running out of time. I could do snacks forever. Okay, last two questions. One is, if you were a high school teacher, what is the book you would assign to your students?
I mean, honestly, the first thing that came into my head was Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I don't know if that's age appropriate though, but I
think it's fine.
I kind of love having adult themes, especially in high school, because you're already experiencing those emotions.
And
you're
you feel like an adult.
Yeah. It makes you feel kind of cool when you're like,
yeah.
I don't know, that one came to mind because Giovanni's Room is so important to me. And especially that idea of figuring out that sense of loneliness when you leave the place that you're from. And I think messy relationship complications, especially when you're in high school, like I feel like you would love, like it's so messy, but it's also so lonely and you just feel like the ache. And I think it's interesting in that book when Baldwin says like home is not a place, but I can never say this word, irrevocable condition. And I would just love to discuss that, I think, with students, or like, what does it mean to talk about home when you're not there? And what does it mean to like have identity and pleasure and not be able to express that? I feel like that would be a really interesting book. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, last one. If you could require the current president of the United States to read one book, what would it be?
I mean, I'm trying to think of a book that would somehow engender empathy in him. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's possible. I'm like, what would make him have empathy or make him feel? And I'm like, is that even doable? I think I would have him read When My Brother Was an Aztec by Natalie Diaz, because I think it would. I want to go with an indigenous poet, from this land, and I think Natalie's collection is absolutely stunning, and how she collides the personal and the political, and it also deals with the personal family issue around addiction, and I think that would be the one that I would select for him to read.
I love it. Okay, everybody. Tiana will be back on April 30th for our book club discussion of Blessing the Boats by Lucille Clifton, a poet I've never read. I've only read like whatever poems, float around on the internet. So I'm really excited. This is, I think, our 5th time doing like poetry month, poetry collection. And we've never really done a classic. I think the furthest back we've sort of gone is Ross Gay. Everything else has been more like a more recent poet. So I'm really excited to kind of go back a little bit and dig in with you. So everybody, you can get your copy of that book wherever you get your books. You should also get your copy of Scorched Earth, Tiana's book that just came out in March, and read that. And I can vouch for the audiobook. I listened to some of the poems. Tiana reads them, and she reads them like an actual human being and not like a robot. So if you want to listen, you can do that too. Tiana, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tracy, so much. This was such a fun, delightful conversation, and I appreciate you so much.
Yay, thank you. Everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you again to Tiana Clark for joining the show. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Holly Rice, Jose Olivares, Jenny Xu, and Nate Marshall for helping to make this episode possible. Don't forget, our book club pick for April is Blessing the Boats, New and Selected Poems, 1988 to 2000 by Lucille Clifton. We will be discussing the book on Wednesday, April 30th with Tiana Clark. If you love the show and you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join our community of the Stacks Pack, and check out my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com. Make sure you're subscribed to The Stacks wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, you can follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, and check out our website at thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Megan Caballero. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tigirigis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.